Springtime in Ohio. The snow has turned to rain. The brown has turned to green. People are starting to smile again. The birds are chirping. The flowers are blooming. People are awaking from their hibernation. And the oak trees are, well, maybe I should have eased into that one. You see, some oak trees retain their dead leaves through winter and into spring. This is a phenomenon called marsosomes. It's due to an incomplete abscission layer formation, which allows them to hold onto leaves longer. What that basically means is that my oak trees do not shed the stem of their leaf until early spring. This can be for one of several reasons. They can be nutrient cycling, moisture trapping, it could be for protection, or it could be an evolutionary advantage that they have picked up. Either way, while my oaks are out back getting ready to finally shed their leaves, the garage is finally ready for some warm weather. And you know what that means? I can finally open the doors back up. It's the end of March, the sun is shining, birds are singing, the sky is blue. It's a beautiful day here in Ohio, so the garage door's open, and the oak is back to work. You know, I was inspired the other day. I walked up into my son's room, and I saw him playing on the floor with his Legos, and it was just the cutest thing. He had found an old small storage tub somewhere in the house, and he brought it upstairs, and one, he was storing his Legos in it, and two, it's what he was using to play Legos on. And gosh, I was just so proud of him. He reminded me of myself at that age. Seeing a problem, finding a solution, and getting shit done. Anyways, he has inspired me to get shit done myself. I have 2 projects I need to work on. School is quickly coming to an end. Summer will be here soon. And I want to build something for his teacher. He had just an amazing teacher this year. And 2, I want to build him a combo Lego table. I want him to be able to build Legos on a portable table and store them inside as well. I came up with it in my head, as I usually do, and I need to get shit done. Alright. Let's see what we have up here. That'll do. And after a quick trip back to the oak field to get some more supply of oak, it's time to start the milling process on this project. First, I gotta get all my tools out. Having a 2-car garage limits what I can keep out throughout the winter. Fortunately, I've designed my garage to where I have a lot of storage, so my inner pack rat for tools allows me to squirrel away things. Next step here is to resaw these. They're 3/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to cut them in half with the bandsaw. So each face and end will be 3/8 of an inch thick. 4 of those in half. And it'll be continuous grain too, which is going to look really good. So I'm going to get that guy set up and keep going on this project. If you do decide to make a pencil box, or anything, do your research. I never actually measured how long a pencil is. Thankfully, I planned on making this 8 inches long, and a pencil is 7.5 inches, which gives me extra space. That's the good news. Now, wood's all been planed, resawn. Now I need to measure out to see what I can use for the box frame, the box bottom, the box lid, and then hopefully use some of these little scrap pieces for handles and other items that I'm going to need for this box. I want to take a moment to talk about teachers and why they're so important. They're more than just instructors of whatever subject our kids are learning in school at the time. They are also way more than just someone to watch our kids for us while we toil away at our measly, meaningless jobs, hunched over our personal island of Herman Miller rip-off furniture. wasting our day away listening to people blather on about their snot-nosed kids and how their spouse does nothing around the house all day. These are the people who shape students, who shape our children's understanding of the world and unlock opportunities within it. See, this is where labeling comes in handy. A1, A2, A3. 1, so I don't lose track of how these go together. And 2, so I don't lose track of orientation, so I can keep my grain all aligned. There we are. During the school year, they spend more waking time with our children than we do. A teacher provides the power of education that leads to better futures for all mankind. Teachers at all levels are important, each grade justifiably more important than the next. But a kindergarten teacher, they are the ones who help shape our kids for the remainder of their time in the education system. Beautiful. Square, wow, look at that. Boy, it's nice to see it come together. And now, back to this piece. Would you look at that? Glue the frame, glue the bottom. Good day today. Kindergarten teachers are their first exposure to school, when their brains are little dry sponges, ready to absorb every piece of information that is given to them. They watch us with hawk-like eyes, studying every move we make and imitating our actions, words, and mannerisms. They do the same for their teachers as well. What am I doing here? What are these? This is the other part of my getting shit done projects. This is just scrap wood, because this is just an idea I have in my head that I've transferred to paper. My goal here, to make a portable Lego table for my son. That is a 10-inch by 10-inch Lego stud, which is the plate that Legos are built on. What I want to do is, once this is a complete square, once I joint this together, and I might use dovetails because I like the way it looks, and this is for a child who will beat this up, drop it downstairs, throw it out of the car, whatever he's gonna do. So it's gotta be strong. Dovetails will be really strong, but this will slide in, gotta figure that out still, so that he has a little table to work on and carry it around the house. And then the gap below, I'm gonna have little storage bins. It'll look something like this, right? Storage like this for Lego pieces, and then this will slide right on top. That's the idea anyways. So that's the project I'm working on while things are gluing, and I'm bouncing back and forth. But anyways, you can probably hear my garbage being picked up right now. Oh well. Now it's time to get cleaned up and meet my lunch date, my beautiful wife. Somewhere in this time warp of existence, we as adults often forget how simply we can create a solution to fix a problem. Often, I know I'm looking for the perfect time or situation or the perfect tool to get something done. But life doesn't work like that. I felt so proud of my son figuring out how to play his Legos before Dad found the perfect table for him to build Legos on. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm starting on the Lego table. There are a few reasons that I decided to make both of these projects at the same time. They both required similar paths forward with the milling process. They both required the same tools, and I also knew that I was going to have downtime with both projects when it came to glue drying and allowing my mashed potato brains to figure out how to build these things out of scratch. Let's get this mess cleaned up, start figuring out my proper dimensions, and keep moving this one along too. So up until this point, I've milled all the lumber that I need for this portable Lego table. I am concerned a little bit with running my dado grooves for the bottom and for the top, but I'll get to that later down the road. I can't use my table saw or else it comes through and you're gonna see it on the other end. I'm not concerned about that right now. What I'm working on is the top piece and figuring out my exact length. Because again, I'm making this up as I go and I want to do it step by step. It just works better for me that way in my head. So what I've done was take an old scrap piece of 1/4 inch birch plywood, right? It's all banged up too. This was a shipping crate top, but I really like the way this plywood looked. I've traced out my 10 by 10 Lego stud, which will glue right onto it. So this is essentially going to slide in if this is the front. So that's where I'm at. Now I know the size of my top, what I have to glue the stud onto, and it helps me finalize the final measurement of my frame. So at the end of the year, how can we really express our gratitude to this person? This educator that has devoted their life to kids who can't read good and want to learn to do other stuff good too. Okay, sure, you could fire a Starbucks gift card into a bag that you're reusing from Christmas, expressing to them that this is essentially some money they can use to caffeinate up before returning to their soul-crushing reality of existence. Sound familiar?
Bottom's going on like that, which I'll start working on here now because I may have to mill up some more wood. It's also back down into the 20s. It's 28 right now, but it's going to be sunny and at least hit 40 today. Springtime in Ohio. Okay. You know, it's always really important, moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas, whoever's using a garage as a wood shop or a garage with tools in it, that can be very dangerous. And sharing it with little kids is, I always like to make sure that my tools are unplugged when I'm done using them, or at least when I'm done for the day. And for anything like a table saw, make sure the blade is down, which you should do anyways. Or a miter saw, make sure it's locked in place. Bandsaw, you know, whatever you're working with. Just a nice precaution to take because little kids will get into everything.
So does this sound familiar? Well, if you're sitting in your standard issued work chair, the padding worn out from the prior resident, with the stink of hot ass emanating out of the coffee-stained fibers caused by the extra cheese pizza you had the night before, then it should.
Right now I'm just lining these up by hand so I can cut them over on the miter saw. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. Really coming together now. All right, next up for today. Box frame is complete. It still needs final sanded. I have my two top pieces that will secure the lid on. Still need to work on the lid. It's cut. I want these pieces to be a little bit different. I want them to stand out from the rest of the box. So what I'm going to do is ebonize them. I'm not going to use ebony stain. But what I'm going to do is add a little bit of apple cider vinegar and some steel wool in this mason jar. Give that lid a little tighten. We're going to let that sit for about a day. Come back tomorrow, sand, wipe it on. These should be ready to go on, which will be great.
Funny thing, my son found the table before I actually had a chance to give it to him. He found it sitting in my office waiting for some final touches and wrap-up shots. You know, I don't think I had a grand reveal in mind to show it to him when I was done. But I'll tell you this, the happiness I saw in my son's eyes and on his face when he found that Lego table, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. It was one of those moments that you have as a parent that can't truly be expressed in a story, but it's a moment that will always live in my heart.
Maybe this is now giving us a better idea of what it's going to look like. So we have a frame for the table itself. I need to figure out which end I want to save to be open, but I might wind up just maybe cutting this straight across here and having a nice lip up top so I can pull it back and forth like a handle. And what that would do essentially is I'll pull this lip. This will slide in and out like this. So it's a table to build Legos on. And then you pull the lid back, open it up, and you got little storage boxes inside. And Lego kits, even the smaller ones have 200, 300, 400 pieces. So maybe this is for 1 or for 2 or for 3. I know my daughter, she has a whole bunch of princess Lego pieces and I could probably easily fit 4 of them, but I'll figure out storage soon. Next up, I need to make my dado cut. Figure out the bottom. I gotta cut my open end somewhere around here, maybe at the end of one of the tails, so I can have a handle to move it in and out. Probably put a little handle on there. Ah, okay. It was a good day's work on this today. So where am I at here? I'm making my dado cut so my lid can slide in. Now I need to widen that a little bit because it's just a little bit tight, and of course I want this to slide. So I need to get back on the router and widen that slot. But if you can see, yeah, That's looking pretty nice all the way around. I need to make this wider. And then pick a side. What side's gonna be the front? I don't know yet. Probably one of the tail pieces, but maybe a pin piece. So what does that mean? That means that I want the plywood that our stud is connected to slide in and out. You know what? For a dry fit, this is exactly as I was picturing it. It's square. I think that's a really nice little surface to build Legos on. Label that our front so that I don't forget. Probably start my cut here. And I'm gonna use my scroll saw. It has the smallest blade, thinnest blade. It's not too small, it's too thin. I got a thin blade. My wobbly hand got me in a little bit of trouble right there. It's time I finish this box up. The exterior needs sanded. I need to build the lid. I did make a little handle to go on the end, which is gonna slot in right there. Just a little grab handle, right? I'm gonna stain these with my still wool vinegar mix. Look, you can actually watch that happen. That's crazy. Look how cool that looks. All right, that was the right decision. Wow. I don't always make the right decision, but I think that one really was. Just look how nice that is. Yeah, that lighting is miserable, but it's just a neat little touch that almost gives it a floating look, and I think just really completes a piece. So I'm gonna keep sanding here. I'm working on that. Boy, that's nice. I started my sand at 100 grit only because the bottom was rough. There were scratches and the outside got a little scratched up from this and that. Then I brought up to 220. So the smoothness is just really spectacular. I love the way that chamfer turned out on the bottom. This is ready to be finished after I get these installed. Do you remember your favorite teacher from school? I do. Her name was Mrs. Lewis. She was one of my math teachers from middle school. Think about that. This is a woman who made such an impact on me that I still think about her 25 years later. That's how important teachers are. I had planned a little more in my head on this. The lid part, I think, is where I finally started to realize that maybe this is not overwhelming, but I don't want to screw up now because I'm very close to the end. And some of these little fine details I'm not used to doing, especially since this is my first one. But I'm trusting my process. A big part of trusting my process is taking my time and going slow and thinking my steps through. Now, I did have a slight mishap. This is pretty ugly, but I'll fix it. When I was cutting my rabbit to fit the bottom onto, I cut it on the wrong side of this. This is the front. It is what it is. I fixed it. I ripped down some strips here and here. And again, it's not going to be the prettiest, but I think it'll look nice. So while this is drying, jumping back over to the box, I don't think I had a grand reveal in mind to show it to him when I was done. But I'll tell you this, the happiness I saw in my son's eyes and on his face when he found that Lego table, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. It was one of those moments that you have as a parent that can't truly be expressed in a story. But it's a moment that'll always live in my heart. Immediately, we ran upstairs to his room to start organizing Legos and free building. I'm gonna go open the garage door now so I'm not huffing paint and my wife finds me passed out on the garage floor. Alright, we'll let that dry for a little bit and second coat it, flip it over, do that again, repeat, blah, 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 blah. The feeling I had being able to give this homemade thing to my son and then share it with him made me feel like I had worked on it for a whole year.
instead of just a whole month.
There we are. I'm really happy with the progress on this. For something that was conceptual that I thought of in my head, and I'm transferring it into a physical object, I am really happy with how this turned out. I think dovetails were a good choice for the joints. If I had more experience with dovetails, they probably would have been prettier, but they also would have been tighter too. And that's just me not really working with them, other than maybe a couple of times in my life. Outside of that, some of the methods I used I think were the right ones. I'm just not good at them. Same concept here. You know, for some garbage plywood, this turned out really nice. Oh, it's satisfying.
Every night since I gave that to him, we sit in his room before bed and we free build Legos, just talking about our day. We talk about silly things. We sing Black Keys songs. And of course, since he's 6, we make fart noises. And we laugh, and we build, and we spend time together.
I need to fit the bottom on. I'm going to glue that on today. I'll have to sand the outsides. I'm going to patch some of these holes still too, some of those, just to get those ready for paint. The top turned out really well. Studs glued on. It's not coming off either. The epoxy and the contact cement worked out really well, so I got to check back in with our pencil box, which I'll do here in a little bit as well, and see what we can get accomplished today. Okay, I'm really happy with this right now. Here's our pencil box. I need to cut these down. Anyways, the pin comes out. Lid comes off. And we've got ourselves a nice little pencil box right there. Okay, final touch-ups. I need to give this another light sanding. I need to retouch the ebony. And this should be wrapping up real soon. Ah! I love it.
Now, where was I? Oh, right. See, I can't bring myself to thank this teacher that way, with just a Starbucks gift card. Sure, even a pencil box can't really express the gratitude I have for her, for the lifelong, positive way she has influenced my child. But maybe a homemade gift can get close.
You know, last week, I was feeling pretty discouraged. Maybe that had something to do with me getting sick. Both these projects were coming to a conclusion. And I just started to see some flaws in my design, the way things fit. And it got me down. But I stayed true to what I believe, and I trusted my process. And the Lego box looks, well, it's getting there, but it's starting to look really good. Things are coming together as I had hoped. The pencil box, this is just, it's beautiful. I am so happy with how this turned out. And while it's not traditional in the sense that I followed the method that the Japanese use, but I like it. It's my own take on it. And I don't actually even know if they use it as a pencil box. I believe they use it as a toolbox. It's a Japanese toolbox. But I'm feeling really good. I trusted my process. I got myself out of my funk. Like I've mentioned before, I fill myself with so much doubt. But I just have to believe and keep believing. And this it turned out so beautifully. And look at that red oak. It just is, it's a beautiful wood. Look at the grain pattern, how gorgeous that is. How cool it looks with that ebonized wood. You get those little rivers of white. Now, I finished it with 1 coat of linseed oil. Then I topped it off with some finishing paste. I'm ahead of schedule, which is wonderful. School's out in about a month, so that gives me time to just move on to the next project, not have to worry about this one. Can't have frayed ends on that. I'd have to fire myself if I did that. So what I did was I puttied in a lot of these imperfections, a couple more holes that I missed, some of the spaces in between my dovetails. Now I need to final sand this. I'm gonna paint the outside and the inside separately because they're gonna be 2 different colors. I hate to see Joann Fabrics going out of business. With what inventory they have left, they have some really good deals going on. I picked some storage containers up that will close and latch, that'll fit in here. I need to put a handle on, which I will do so my son can just pick it up and carry it around. So I decided to soften up the edges on this thing because, well, it's for a 6-year-old and they shouldn't have anything sharp. I just did that with a little 220 grit sandpaper. It's nice. I still have a nice clean corner. and it's not going to hurt anything. I'm gonna probably put some felt on the bottom because this is gonna be played with on my furniture, and kids destroy furniture enough. So, but I'm gonna paint the inside now and let that dry. It's always a good feeling when you finish off a can of spray paint. I don't even remember when I bought this can, and I don't even have the cap anymore, and I don't recall even losing the cap, but it's been out in my garage probably for years, because you buy a can and you use it for a project and you don't need that much, and then it sits there until you need it again, which was today. I love that feeling. All right, that's gonna dry. I'm gonna do a close on these 2 projects, which is great, and I love getting shit done. Hey, look at that. Oh, wow. And there she is. The dovetails were a great choice. Again, strong joint, I really like it. The dovetails still shine through even after 2 coats of paint, which I think is a really cool feature. And finishing touches, and I'm done. So as I wrap these projects up, I can't help but reflect on the art of gift giving. It's the thought that always matters most. And when you give a gift, give it from the heart. Don't buy something online because you waited until the last minute and can have it at your doorstep in under 24 hours. Give something of meaning, something thought out, something you know they'll love, because you listen to them, because you know them. A homemade gift is the best kind of gift, whether it is for a kindergartner or a kindergarten teacher. 2 people who are in completely different times of their life. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't even have to be that creative. It could be stationery that you created with an online tool, or something that you physically built with your own hands. So a Starbucks gift card? A cheap plastic toy from Amazon? Come on, parents. We're better than that. Fuck it. So go out into the world, be the best that you can be, conquer what's in front of you, and don't forget to make today great.